This is the biggest crowd I've seen in here since I started working here. So, again, thank you for coming. Happy 21st birthday to the CMC. This is the reason why this is happening tonight. So I want to give a sort of round of applause for our two guests, Philip Agnew. For the space, for Gainesville in general. So again, thank you for coming. I'm going to have Joe Porter, one of our co-founders, come tell you a little bit more about the CMC.
Anybody in this room for the first time tonight?
All right.
21 years ago, we started this, October 18th, 1993. Noam Chomsky had been scheduled to come to Gainesville back in 1991. Some of us were meeting to figure out how we could promote alternative media, non-corporate media, over that time period, 91, 92, coming off the first Gulf War and seeing how the press releases from the Pentagon seemed to be guiding what the news would be. There was this new thing called the internet that was starting that people didn't have access to. There was a need for a public meeting space that we could have without trying to find some church basement or something that we could use on short order. So, with Chomsky coming, we decided to open our doors on the day when he was here. And we got going with it as a library, with memberships, to check out books, check out our materials. It used to be check out videotapes and audio tapes. Now it's check out DVDs and CDs. Times change. Internet is everywhere, but the need for public space is still around. This space is influenced a lot of people coming through their education or just their time in Gainesville. We brought a ton of speakers. We had Noam Chomsky 3 times, Howard Zinn once, Jennifer Harbury, Michael Parenti, Colleen Rowley, Colonel Neil Wright, Ward Churchill, Bobby Seale have all spoken either in this room or in our old space. It's all about building community, getting people in touch. Here. We get coordinators such as Naila, who you just met, Kinsey, who will meet shortly, just signed on as coordinators. We have a succession of people that can actually get to work in a public space, doing something meaningful, something purposeful, figuring out how to deal with the press, how to make events happen, and how to just be a catalyst wherever they are, after they leave here, but especially while they're here, make stuff happen. So really glad you're here, and I'm going to turn you over now to Kinsey Cook, and welcome you all.
Trifold on your seat, and it says more about us. And so it costs about $4,000 a month to run this space. It might seem like we're doing great because we've been around for 21 years, but not really. It's every month kind of like trying to, whatever. So this is a free event, but we want to encourage y'all to maybe get a membership here. It's $10 to $50 sliding scale, and you pay that once a year, and then you have access to all the books and everything. You get a quarterly newsletter, all that stuff. So if you're interested in getting a membership, on the back of the trifold, you can just fill out your info, and there's an envelope. There's checks payable to CMC. And if you don't want to do that, I'll just pass around this box so you can donate what you will. And
You can do both.
yeah. Maybe I'll start it here.
Go big, go on.
Okay, yeah, so I don't think I actually introduced myself to you all. I'm Naila Summers, new-ish co-coordinator along with Kenzie Cook, my person. And we started here in about July, and we knew when it was time to do the anniversary that we wanted something big, we wanted something relevant, and we wanted something different and refreshing. And in this space, that is what Malcolm and Phil are. So I think it's very important that they're here tonight. We who live on the margins and who live on the edges, our experiences are often skewed when we hear about them, or really negative. So we wanted somebody to talk about their experiences. We want people to talk about our triumphs and all the things that we go through. We're a very multifaceted group of people. But I don't know. I'm really happy that we made this happen. I'm really happy to have these two young black men at the Civic Media Center in Gainesville. A little bit about Phil and how I know these two. I started my sort of journey into activism and organizing alongside Phil. Phil had been doing the thing for a while. He was sort of this Tallahassee legend. He was the student body president at FAMU, and he did a lot of things. Martin Lee Anderson was a kid who died at a boot camp in, where was it?
Bay County, Florida.
Bay County, Florida. He died at that boot camp, and Phil, among some of our other friends in Tallahassee, got together and organized these huge rallies and just really did the thing in Tallahassee. So we had heard about him before. So when Dream Defender started out, the Trayvon Martin was killed. We all got on a conference call, and that's the first time I had ever heard Phil's voice. We got together, we did a march from Daytona to Sanford to really ask for justice in the Trayvon Martin case. We wanted Zimmerman to be arrested. And so we marched for 3 days. Danny Agnew, that's Phil's little brother, he's also here. He was there. And so my journey started with Phil. And I heard Malcolm speak, I think 2 years ago at a conference in Chicago, and I was just blown away. Like, this, and I looked at him in that moment, I'm sorry, as a child. And I'm older than him, so it was just like, who is this baby lighting up this room? Who is this baby? Like, who is this person who's lighting this room on fire? And so when it was time, we felt that it was very appropriate to try to get Malcolm to come. So thank you both for coming. And I'm going to let them tell you about themselves. Malcolm is also a poet, so he's actually going to start the night off with
I'm really excited to be here in this space. I'm kind of intimidated that it's like the 21st anniversary of like Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky and like all those folks are here. But I'm kind of intimidated that this brother's here. In the sense that I highly respect folks. I also did not have this gorgeous beard that I have on my face 2 years ago. So that's probably why the confusion. Today is the National Day Against Police Brutality here in the United States. And I rep this group. Yeah, unfortunately we have to have those, right? And I rep this group called BYP 100, which is a national organization of 18 to 35-year-olds who organize through direct action and on the issues that affect Black youth. We do that through Black queer feminist lens. And so, I had a friend of mine, his name is Dominique Franklin, who was tased by Chicago police back in May. And this poem, I think, is appropriate for today, and this is for him. It begins with a quote by, was the first comment of the Chicago Tribune posted this story, and the first comment is the quote preceding this poem. See, the thing is, we're trained to yell taser 3 times, so the offender has a chance to stop. He obviously didn't, and this is what he got. You dug your grave, and now you have to lay in it. Pun intended. When you do stupid stuff like this, then it won't happen to you. Assumed police officer. The first time I met you, folks warned me of the sledgehammers you carried on your wrist. I made note not to ever get into a hand-throwing contest with you. I was 17, bony, all enamel and no bite, trying to prove to Chicago that 25 push-ups every morning meant I was strong enough to stand elbows cocked in front of McDonald's fist ready to meet the face of any victim our squad chose. We were boys in the hood, menaces to society, Machiavelli and ready to die in our headphones. We were soccer players, skateboarders, and people who used bike lanes. We stole bikes and skateboards. We were teenagers. We robbed 7-Elevens of gun packs and Snickers bars. We were good grades and free Huey tattoos on our shoulders. We were Whitney Young, De La Salle, and double honor Lincoln Park students. We were smart enough to know how to lie to our parents and read textbooks written by white men, but still South Side and West Side enough to know police didn't give a shit about where you went to school. News say you hit your head on a light pole after being tased. That's what put you in a coma. The ambulance report said you died on the spot. The nurse said you were tased twice. Once in the back of the head after the first tase didn't stop you from running, though you were already handcuffed. The comments on the Tribune article say you deserve it. Say criminals dig their own graves. I am 21 and know how police lie, know how falsified documents appear like magic. No, magic is the only thing that could have saved you that night. I am confused. What the hell is a criminal? A person who terrorizes people on a daily, a person who pledges allegiance to a gang, a person who brutally murders people. Police always match this description. You weren't an honor student, an upstanding citizen. You were stealing alcohol when you got tased. You can't win any medals with the track record you have. You hurt people. But you didn't dig your own grave. You were born into it. This isn't a poem to state your life as a saint, but to say no authority should be given to the state to take your life away. My homie, no matter what life you lived, you deserve to live it. The age of Jim Crow has only gotten older. Since Nas taught us sleep was the cousin of death, we've been forced to resist arrest. Freedom is the most patriotic thing we've never known. The police hurt people, the state hurt people. We are hurting, we are mourning your loss. Every morning your father is pouring out over his son, setting. He couldn't make you invincible, but your dreams are. You wanted to start a clothing line, but we were already in this design. In your memory, I will wear out this stitching we never asked for until this system is no more, no more, no more.
Okay, so, hey Slim. Some of y'all know the movie. My name is Philip. I'm a native of Chicago. I currently live in Miami with my younger brother here, who is a dream defender. I'm 29 years old. I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University with a business degree. And though I visited for the first time a month and a half ago, I grew up every day in Ferguson, Missouri. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that of which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But when a government becomes destructive of those rights, it is the duty, nay, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. To institute a new government, laying its foundation upon the principles and organizing its powers so as to the people will secure their safety and their happiness. The Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. As we sit here today, those words ring more true than ever. On today, October the 22nd, 2014, around the country, some ceremonial, some very agitational, many protests happen around the country to protest what we've known and we call in liberal circles police brutality, to protest racial profiling, to protest police harassment. Today is the day we've chosen, as we do with many holidays, to spend one day in a national conversation about a system that is not broken, but was designed in the way that it works today, quite perfect. So today we want to have a conversation, right, about police brutality, about murder. And I think the moment that we're in today is one that calls on us to not engage in a conversation about reform. I didn't drive here, or I didn't ride here. I didn't ride here. Jonelle Edwards, a graduate of the University of Florida and our organizer, got us here. But I didn't come here to talk about civilian review boards. I didn't come here to talk about diversity trainings. I didn't come here to talk about having officers that look like us in the police force. I came here to talk about what it means to have a radical notion of what a community needs and a community sees as a way to keep it safe, and the role that police officers, if we allow them to, can play into that. I want to talk today in our conversation about systems. The Dream Defenders were started after the murder of Trayvon Martin. Do y'all remember Trayvon?
Oh, yes.
He was a hashtag for y'all a few years ago, before everybody went back to school and waited for the next one. And as Naila said, who is a co-founder of the Dream Defenders, we marched for 40 miles calling for justice for Trayvon Martin. We wanted the arrest of George Zimmerman. We wanted a blue ribbon commission to investigate the relations between the police department and the community of Sanford, Florida. And we also wanted the commissioner, Bill Lee, right, to retire. And we got all of those.
All right.
And then Jordan Davis got shot. We got all our demands. We marched for 40 miles. Naila and others blocked the doors of the Sanford police station. They shut the police department down. And then Kiera Wilmot went to school and did a science project and was charged as a domestic terrorist. We marched for 40 miles. We forged relationships with each other. We met brothers and sisters from around the country. And then Mike Brown was shot down in the middle of the street and left like a carcass in the Sahara Desert for 4 hours. And so really what we need to talk about is that what we're doing just isn't enough. The conversations that we having are just not enough. The organizations that we're affiliated with just aren't enough. And today I would like to talk about what we need so that we can have enough. Pressed down, shaken together, running over. And so I'm excited to be here and be in this discussion. I come here as not only a guest of Naila Summers and this auspicious building here, but also a guest of the University of Florida chapter of the Dream Defenders, represented in the back here. I came here with another University of Florida graduate, Shamil. You all may remember her. On campus. And so I'm excited for this discussion, excited to speak with you all and engage in the conversation. I hate panels, so please don't make me sit on one.
Yeah, I too am from Chicago. I must tell you something about Chicago. No, And similar, the group that I talked about, Black Youth Project 100, we are an idea of a woman named Kathy Cohen, who is the professor or the head of the poli-sci department at the University of Chicago. She's an amazing Black queer woman who is incredible. She started a group, website and blog research called the Black Youth Project about 9 years ago, and she did amazing research around issues and all kinds of different things. And she said, well, now I have to figure out a way in which these young people who are doing this research need to organize. And so she convened about 100 Black activists and organizers, politicians, students, out a little bit outside of Chicago. And the night the Zimmerman verdict was released, we were all in a room holding hands together, and we were reminded by CNN and by America that our lives did not matter. And so some of us stayed behind, did work, and figured out our plan as an organization for the next couple years. Some of us, myself included, drove back downtown and orchestrated like a 500 people ad hoc tweeting type protest. And that moment sort of sparked what is now BYP 100. And I love, everyone talked about what is, we need justice. Even now we talk about we need justice for Mike Brown, for Aiyana Jones, for so many people who look like me. But what does that look like? And that doesn't look like Darren Wilson behind bars. I mean, quite frankly, myself, I'm a prison abolitionist, and I believe prison is an intersection of a lot of capitalist, patriarchy, white supremacist systems in our society. So justice does look like me being able to walk down the street freely. I talked about, right now, or today, was released the toxology report of Mike Brown, that of course hinted at him being under the influence. And the piece that I read earlier, my homie Dominique Franklin, was not a college student, as I said before, and I'm really interested and want to have a conversation about the idea that, even in death, we cannot be a victim of anything, and we are criminalized, even if buried in the ground or in a morgue, continuously criminalized. And so a group that I'm in is called We Charge Genocide. It's a group that's going to the UN to present on police violence. Not that I particularly believe in the UN in terms, and it's a powerless body, but their first, I think this isn't a policy and this isn't something that can be put in place, but what is important about that trip is trying to get not only the United States, but the entire world to recognize what is happening to people of color in this country is torture by the definition of the UN, to recognize that as a thing. The United States won't even say that they're killing us continued since we got here, right? Or traveled here at all. And I think in terms of talking about what does justice look like, I mean, we need folks in this country to say this is happening. At least I dream about that type of recognition because so many people choose to ignore that. So I guess in this conversation, and I suppose anybody can answer, and also maybe it's a question for our brother here. How do we do, or in your sense, how do we build that community base or community practices in which subvert and or create and reimagine the world in which we want to live, while simultaneously living in this glorious United States?
So I got the agenda in my text message.
I
didn't want to be awkward, but I just make myself obviously awkward in it. Okay, so we do have an agenda that was created and distributed. But okay, yeah. I'm not gonna use it, so that's okay. Okay. No, I mean, I think so. When we're talking about police and their role in our communities and what safety and justice looks like in our communities, and what violence looks like in our communities, and how we fix that. I think we should look to history first on the police side. So yesterday I was on a panel. We were in Oakland, and I was sitting next to a police officer, a well-meaning African American man, and he began to talk about kind of the new things that they're doing in the police department to foster better relationships with the community. And I think really all of those things sounded really cool, but what people are not understanding is the history of police forces, right? And so at their infancy, police departments were used to break up labor strikes. Police departments were used to return slaves to their masters. They were used as personal security for wealthy businessmen to protect their property. So at their infancy, they were built and modeled with no regard for justice and rights for the people. It was always made to protect the state. And so, to me, the police don't have a place in the community no matter what they do, right? And so for an analogy's sake, take police departments as a vehicle. And so for the last 40 years, we've been repainting the car, and then putting rims on the car, and then we put spinners on the car. But we didn't change anything under the hood about how that car operates and runs, the fundamental parts about it. And so to get to your question about that, I think a community of practice around restorative justice and what that means, right? For a community to come together after a wrong or a mistake has been committed, to find out what justice looks like on the part of the one who's been offended, and for the community to come together around both the perpetrator of the mistake and the person who's been the mistake has been perpetrated upon, and moving forward in that way is the way that I would envision a community comes together and solves the issue of crime. Talking about crime is a byproduct of poverty. Okay, and so when you have communities, when you have sucked out every resource that will support advancement in the human condition, education, quality food, quality water if you're in Detroit, you've taken out every opportunity, you then throw them in jail and then cast them, no matter what their sentence is behind bars, you give them a life sentence once they're outside of jail, then they're going to do what people do in order to survive. And so our communities need to come together and figure out what it looks like to have a community practice of justice that is centered upon allowing that person to re-enter society as a full member, and then gives permission granted by the community for the police department to be a part of that community. Do people understand where I'm coming from and get what I'm saying? And so our notion of justice and police is just all skewed. It's based on what the state gives us. It's based on what the state, our notion of violence and criminality is all based on what the state does, when the state is the main perpetrator of all the things that list as violent activity. And so I would prefer to see restorative justice and no prisons. So I don't know what that looks like building it while we're going. In New York, there's the Red Hook Community Court, where if a child is caught graffitiing, they sentence that child to art class. And so there are ways that are in practice right now that we can do that and have a futuristic view.
So as Phil so kindly reminded us, we do have an agenda. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up discussion between them, and then we're gonna open it up to any audience questions, discussion. But the first question, because the title of the event was.
Sorry.
The first question is, what role has social media? Because 21, 21st century, you're 21. All of these things, it's very relevant right now. So we just want to hear your takes on what roles it's played, how you're utilizing it. Talk about the social media thing.
I think social media is awesome. I think it's a great tool. I think it's a great tool. I personally, in high school, when I was not going to class, was in a lot of ways politicized through Tumblr. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Tumblr, but it's like a blog. And that was the first time I'd ever seen the word feminism at all. And so I think, a space that exists digitally where resources can be for free, I think is awesome. And we've seen Twitter mobilize folks and inform folks, and in the age of, or just media in general, Twitter is a lot more democratic in the sense that I could see the Dream Defenders tweet rather than get it from the governor's office, right? And so it allows that sort of transparency. And so for me, in terms of UIP, in Chicago, I'm the co-chair of Chicago chapter. And when Feminista Jones did the whole national moment of silence, our entire, we got word of it 2 days before it was supposed to happen, and our entire, it was like 1,200 people in the Daily Plaza downtown. We didn't have time to go around and leaflets. It was all Instagram, Twitter, and folks really just disheartened by what had happened in Ferguson. And so, I think it is a great tool, but I don't believe the master's tool will be able to destroy the master's house. Audre Lorde says the opposite, but I don't necessarily believe that. And so, it has to. So I got a follow-up question for you again, and so to the audience, for anybody, for folks too, is one of the things I struggle with. Like today is the National Day of Police Violence, and a lot of folks in Chicago are holding it down. In Chicago, and our organizers are doing great work, and I'm watching from Instagram and Twitter and supporting any way I can. But the question popped into my head: does sort of the access of visibility in terms of a protest make it? Do you think that engages folks more, or do you think it like, oh, that's what's up, that's cool, people doing things, I could not join that movement, right? I think, and so I'll give my answer. I think sometimes it offers a way to see, to be engaged, to understand and see that this is happening, this is going on, that sometimes it may or may not pull folks in the same way that if you were at the, 50 years ago at the March on Washington, you had to be there, right? Like you wasn't a part of that moment if you was not there, you know what I mean? And so, I guess, I struggle with that in the real physical, but I understand, Twitter and things are amazing. The thing I don't like about Twitter that I'm tired of is town halls, Twitter town halls. I'm kind of tired of Twitter town halls. I think they should happen in real life. And I think you can use Twitter to get folks to one, but I'm really tired of Twitter town halls. That's how I feel about
What do y'all think?
What's the Twitter town hall?
It's like a town hall, but on Twitter. And like everybody can tweet in.
And anybody, just imagine this is a town hall, and then somebody just didn't know what was going on, and they just stepped their head in and was like, I don't like that.
That's racism.
Literally, that's what it is. And then really what happens is that person, everybody follows them. Like, wait a minute, you don't like that? That's how it goes. They don't have no sense. They don't do shit. So, I hate Twitter. Hashtag no Twitter town hall. That's the truth. I think. Okay, so.
Well, we have a real town hall coming up.
Thank you, Faye. The Alachua County Black History Task Force is having a town hall on Sunday. It's 2 to 4:30 p.m. And what they're doing is trying to get some real Black history into the curriculum of the public schools. There's a lot of history of Florida. We don't know shit about our history. I grew up and I didn't learn about Emmett Till until I was in the Mississippi Delta. Or I hadn't seen the picture of his, body in a casket. Like, we don't have real Black history in this state. So this is a really, really important grassroots local event. So I encourage everybody to be there. This is, everybody should be there. All kinds of boards.
Where is it?
It is at the main library in downtown. Sunday. 401 East University Avenue, Gainesville, Florida. 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m.
It's not at the other library, it's at the main
All
library.
ages? All ages. Yes, definitely all ages. So, Phil, social media.
Okay. That's what social media is. So with social media is literally just the microphone. If you're not saying anything, you don't have anything to say, you're not doing any organizing, you're not talking to anybody, then you know what I'm saying? It's just a supplement to the work. So I agree with what Malcolm said. I think it's a tool that we can use. I don't think that it takes the place of anything. It's a supplement to the work people are doing. We have, on our team, we have very gifted and agile social media minds who can use momentum and build momentum around events and around actions. If it doesn't steer people to real action, it's just not real. We have this conversation all the time about certain personalities on Twitter that are just virtual reality people. They're not real people at all. It might offend people, but it's a whole lot of not real people that just have thumbs and keyboards, and they just go in and they could just massacre somebody. It's just ridiculous. I'm not gonna say no names because that's not the forum that we're at. But there's some people that I can't. It's crazy. But it is a tool that, as you said, that we can use. But it also is debilitating. It GPS tracks you everywhere you go. You're not able to move in secrecy, so everything is broadcast very, very live in real time. And so it has good, it has bad. But if you're just a tweeter and that's just all you do, I hope your hands stay strong. I don't tweet that often, but I do see it as a tool. We need people who can maneuver in there, not to be disparaging to people who have that talent and that skill and can do that all day. But it's just my personal thing. The next thing is Ferguson.
The next thing is Ferguson.
Okay.
Next question is, we wanted to know, what does it mean to you? How many days? 74, 75 days since Mike Brown died. What does it mean to you? There are people still doing the work on the ground. What's the relevance to you? What's the importance there for you?
So I think, it's always, I think, a bittersweet, not even sweet, it's all bitter. But there's a lot of movement right now in that city because a police officer is a jackass. And so, I think what that means for us right now is, a lot of people are organizing, particularly, and just like what came up out of Trayvon Martin's early death, and there's a lot of great orgs that are taking the reins and being in their city on the ground and being politicized through this moment. But Oh, work. Before I want to do anything, there's this group called Lost Voices down in Ferguson and St. Louis. And we met with them in Chicago like a week ago, about a week ago. And I'm saying them because y'all should Google them, and the CMC should screen their documentary here, because they shot a documentary, and these are folks who were in the neighborhood where Mike Brown got killed. They knew his family, and folks who before this moment were trapping or you know, living their lives in the circumstances that were created around them. And so they have been on the ground organizing since day one. Folks who got kids, who lost their jobs, to understand what this moment means, and that they're trying to get justice down there in Ferguson. I bring them up because they represent sort of what is not fashionably black, in the sense that they're not professionals, they're not college students, they're not, you know what I'm saying? These are folks from the ages of 15 to 49, most of whom have been in prison, but are on the ground doing direct action right now. And they've been sort of shut out and haven't really gained visibility down there. They've been the folks moving folks, but in terms of media, in terms of who folks are talking to, it's not them. And so particularly in that perspective, I think what it means is that folks who organize, who are college kids, who understand white capitalist patriarchy and can spell all kind of big ass words, cannot forget that who we are organizing for, right? And who are directly impacted in and out of prison every single day because police are hyper-surveilling where they stay, and you may be removed from that. And so for me, this moment means we, at BYP, we've kind of been talking about this, right? We try to have a radically inclusive space of all, we imagine freedom and justice for all black people. And we say black people because there's not particularly any space for 18 to 35-year-old black folks to organize. That space, particularly for black folks, doesn't really exist, and that's why we believe that should. And so radically inclusive, meaning all folks, you know what I mean? The revolution cannot, well, it can include a 1% of some folks, not include a 1% of some folks, but it cannot not be with everybody, you know? And so for me in this moment, what Ferguson means is, what it means to me with my homie passing, what it means to have a toxicology report come out to say that a young man was high, which is why he deserves a bullet, and a couple bullets in his body, is that we have to value all life, all of it, in all sense of the word, so that, you know, so in terms of the movement, we have to radically ask questions about what does it mean to be inclusive, what does it mean to organize on behalf of everyone, and include everyone in that movement. Anyone from, you know what I'm saying, the turn up, quote unquote, ratchet folks, because I'm ratchet, or trans folks, or anybody who may be in the margins and undesirable. I think that's what this moment, through the lens of working with Lost Voices, means for me, is to radically include everyone.
Ferguson is moved from protest to resistance, okay? So Ferguson symbolizes moving from protest to resistance, okay? Everybody has a concept of what protest is. There's a lot of professionals in this room. And then there's resistance. And they are resisting against a police state. I think we both spent time out there. I just got back from there. They are resisting a police state in a way that we have not seen domestically since the 60s, since 1968, since 69, since apartheid, kind of, the movement here. We have not seen that here, and that's what's going on in Ferguson. It's working class, young, African-American people who are not doing anything other than what I discussed when I first started, right? their right, exercising their right. One quick thing, because I would love for Shamil, who also went out there, to talk a little bit about her experience if we can. But one quick thing, I was out there, and it was a group of young cats, and I stood next to them, and it was the first night I had been out there, and things were crazy. Not as crazy as before. It was starting to go down, but it was still very crazy out there at night. And all of them were young. They had their t-shirts like pulled up. We were providing gas masks. I had a gas mask. They just had the t-shirts. There was 3 of them, and we was just watching the police. The police were on a whole nother level. This is like a playground for them. They got toys that they haven't been able to use. They've been playing Call of Duty. They just got back from the military, many of them, and got a job in the police department. And this is their first opportunity to really come home and do what they've been wanting to do since they left Afghanistan, since they left combat. And so they are talking to us like any type of way. And I look over to them, I'm like, yo, this shit crazy. They like, yeah, but this is every day. This is the last 2 weeks. I'm like, yo, so why y'all keep coming out here? Why y'all keep coming out here? And I want to understand why y'all keep coming out here. And the one dude said to me, that's a silly question. I was like, okay. It wasn't disrespectful. But so why you say that? It's my human right to be on this street. So it's silly to ask me why I come outside. It's our human right to be out here. And until they indict that man, you understand? And so it's not what you see on television. And I know you keep hearing that. No. It's literally not what you see presented on television. It's young people that know that they have a right to occupy space. They have a right to exist. And the very notion that that can be infringed upon by a police state is baffling to them. And as it should be to all of us. So they move from protest to resistance. Should be
This is Shamil Lewis, a very good friend of mine, and I'm actually really happy that y'all did this because we wanted a woman on the panel and didn't end up happening.